Darren Johnson, Greenwich Journal and Salem Press. And you might not know this, but our Substack, which we send out daily, sometimes a couple of times, more than once a day, but usually at least daily, also serves as our website. So you can go to our old website up here and find, like PDFs of old issues or how to advertise or something like that. But all of our Substack posts actually form a website, and it's actually a very easy to use website. People commend us all the time on how easy it is. It's not like paywalled or anything. You can just go and click on things. It's very like early internet website. It like works as expected. It's not tracking you or anything, as far as I know. Anyway, this time of year, a lot of Substackers, um, they do like their top five, top 10 stories of the past year. So, like, and how do you quantify that? I guess most of them are quantifying it based on hits. And if you go to our website and you click on top, you can see what the top stories are as far as hits go. I went through this list and looked at the hits, and it's mostly correct. There's a couple I wonder, like, how'd this get in the top list? Maybe there's some other metric that Substack is using, but this definitely was a story that probably got the most hits in 2025. We still have a day left. Something could happen. But Local Athletes Inc. Pro Contracts by Jan Baxter was number one. So these two athletes who have ties to Greenwich and Cambridge, they are playing overseas, and this story garnered a lot of interest. So a lot of likes and such too. So you can use our site as a website. The number two story was our April Fool's edition, which honestly kind of shows what the problem with the internet is nowadays. People have trouble distinguishing real stories from fake stories. And we posted this in, I don't know, in my opinion, it was pretty obviously an April Fool's issue. And I put a disclaimer on there later saying this was an April Fool's edition, in my opinion, but a lot of people were fooled by it. Um, and the lead story was like Fox News purchases Greenwich Journal 47 other rural papers, and that we were going to be headquartered in the former Big Lots building. And I used an old photo of when Big Lots first came to town and was putting up a sign, and it looks like it's in reverse where they're taking down the sign, and we're gonna like be in there, and people somehow believe this. And then that Costco was going to enter the old Food Liner building, and that's been there forever in Argyle that no one seems to know what to do with. And we had our writers, write satirical pieces, maple syrup baths. So the stories got more and more ridiculous as this progressed. AI takes over in Good Faith column, which I'll get to shortly. And, a lot of people got fooled by it, I guess. So we got a lot of hits, in other words. I'm going to have to maybe make it even more ridiculous this coming April 1st. Greenwich to receive 4.5 million in New York Forward funding was the number three story. And in our upcoming first issue of the new year, we'll recap, the top stories, and we'll repeat what that was about. But that's good news. They still have to figure out exactly where the money's going, but it's coming in. And then our Restaurant Road, these were like paywalled pieces, but sometimes I send out paywalled pieces with a free redemption coupon so people can redeem them. And so people use their free redemption coupons even though they're paywalled. Restaurant Road was a series that was done that did pretty well, and it goes to show you, like, people do read our newspaper for local suggestions. I don't think we don't have a lot of restaurant advertisers. I don't think the restaurateurs understand that, and then the ones that do and do advertise, they seem to do a little bit better than the ones that don't. I'll just say it that way. Um, this issue didn't do well on newsstands about the canine tragedy in Argyle, but it did pretty well online. This one also did well online. There was a really rare goose that was mingling in January with the Canadian geese. We all have to live here, right? So I wrote an essay on political divisions and why do we have to do this at the local level. And then if we go down the list a little bit more, here's another Restaurant Road story. Guest column. This was a big guest column that, they say like controversy is what equals hits. That's why Facebook's always trying to make you angry. And this one, it was looked at as it was written by a one-time writer, Arthur Broad, who owns some properties in town, and how he thinks Greenwich could be better. But some people got angry at that because it's like, hey, Greenwich doesn't need change and it should stay the way it is. And, it became like an insider-outsider type thing that resulted in hits. So it was a good piece, though, well written. Protests in Salem. November's Quiet Lessons. This was from our a Random Thoughts column. And Random Thoughts and In Good Faith were two columns that did well on Substack. So it's funny, like what people tell me they like versus what does well on Substack. So I bump into people on the street, and yes, people say they like In Good Faith and they like Random Thoughts. But on the street, a lot of people tell me they like On the Square, which is Lance Wang's historical, take on geopolitical matters usually, and Bob Henke's Outdoors Tomorrow nature column. A lot of people on the street say, "Hey, I love that thing," and they like Through the Decades, and then but digitally. Through the Decades is like where we look at old articles from 100 years ago, 50 years ago, etc. But online, they tend to like different stuff. So it's weird how things are. That's why we should always try to keep both our print edition and our digital efforts going, because people like different things. Also, Sarah Murphy writes a well-liked library column, and one of her pieces made our top, I guess we're in the top 20 or so. So it was an interesting look at like how people, when they do online research, they sometimes go down a rabbit hole. And then like when we post whole issues, if I give out a coupon for people to see them for free, they do pretty well. And then, some columns, Scenes from the Washington County Fair did pretty well. Obituaries, when I do post them, do better than average. And In Good Faith, reflecting on life's lessons at 75 over here. Some thoughts after the election, even though it was an off-year election-wise. That was a groundbreaking. Our Old Newbie column did pretty well here with the Not-So-Great Gatsby piece. Letters to the Editor, Lance Wang's column, too. Our Sunday paper edition does slightly better than average because we post every day, but it usually doesn't blow up because it's just a generic Sunday paper edition. So it does pretty well. And you can see, some of the other things that are on here. So you can see what's getting clicked on and such. And, some of these might still, like this post was just December 24th. This is going to get some more clicks between now and, in the future. So 2025, you don't see too many 2024s on here. 2025 did much better hit-wise than 2024 when we started doing this. So we've got some build-up. I'm looking for a 2024 post. So, yep, you can see 2025 dominated. There are a couple of 2024 posts in the top, but not many. So you can see this. Anyway, thank you for a wonderful year on Substack, and for those of you who read our print edition, consider upgrading your Substack subscription level from free to one of our VIP levels, or if you already are at one of our VIP levels, consider becoming a founder level. There's a whole different level, or subscribe to our print edition. Anyway, have a happy new year.